Film Club.
Thank you very much for joining us for another episode of Film Club. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Harrison. With me, as always, it's Danny Donaldson.
Hello.
Every single week in Film Club, we invite you along to watch a film with us. We dive into some of cinema's best, and this week, we're here to take a look at Little Miss Sunshine.
Directed by two of them, Jonathan Dayton and Valerie Faris. This was recommended to me after watching Mary Max last week. That was a recommendation in my Works Film Club. Someone else recommended it. We had a chat after, and she said, I love this film. I love Toni Collette, and I also love Little Miss Sunshine. I went, Andy, that's what we're doing next week. So cheers, Phoebe. Little Miss Sunshine is about a very dysfunctional family, and basically like the little daughter, the little girl, played by Abigail Breslin. She has a competition to be Little Miss Sunshine. They need to get over there, so the whole family gets in a little Volkswagen minivan and does a massive tour to whatever state they're going to. I think it's Arizona, and then she performs in a competition, and it's a story about them dealing with their own troubles, I'd say, but staying together as a family. I loved it. I really loved it. I forgot just how good it was. It was just quirky, bouncy, quite dark, and out of the blue, and it's just a feel good film. It just makes you smile, makes you laugh. I'm very happy with this.
What I really love about this is kind of everything you've just said applies, but it's all completely oxymoronical, where you've just said it's dark, but it's a feel-good film. It's bouncy, but like it's got really heavy material in it. And that's what's so good about this, is I struggle to really find a film like this that manages to balance being kind of a little bit, it feels like a little bit sort of Hollywood on the surface, especially the setup of the film is kind of flimsy, where it's like, oh, we have to go on this road trip because of reasons. And it's like, come on, you could have got around that if you really wanted to. But then when it gets into it, the film really almost feels like a bit like an indie drama, and at times almost like to the point where I'm thinking particularly about when the grandfather dies, and they're all standing in that sort of hospital waiting room. And I've never seen a sort of a character death sequence before handled so realistically, because they're not stood over the body. They don't go in there, like, or it takes them a while to go in there and kind of like see him. It's not a dramatic death. They're told by somebody while they're all in a waiting room, and they just kind of have to sit and deal with it. The film still has this air of this air of comedy about it, which is like her character there, where it's like this sort of like silly sort of bereavement counselor who's coming in and being like, hey, fill out all these forms. And there's almost like this thing in the back of your head when you very first watch it, like, is he dead? You almost don't believe it.
Honestly, I couldn't remember. And I was thinking, does he come out and they got mixed up with someone else? And I really couldn't remember until we saw his body, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, he's dead. So it threw me as well.
It makes you feel that feeling like when somebody dies of like almost, is it real? I don't believe that he's gone.
Yeah,
because
very
it's
surreal.
it's so sudden. I love it. I think that, by the way, you mentioned at the beginning there that it's directed by two people, Jonathan Dayton and Valerie Faris, husband and wife team.
Oh wow, well played to them. That's class.
I think you can feel that the thing they get here is family dynamic. There's few directors who really can get a real family dynamic going, and these guys absolutely nail that. All the different like quirks and personalities and how they bounce off of each other, and how sometimes it's hurtful and sometimes it's supportive. It's really good.
I really like the family dynamics. Like, we're going about, like I mentioned there, Toni Collette, like her character doesn't necessarily have her own quirk, but she's the anchor of the family, and she just loves everyone indefinitely. You got Paul Dano's character, who's like hates everyone not talking. He's taking a vow of silence. He wants to join the Air Force. He somehow managed to he gets his uncle to move into his room. Then they strike up like a little friendship, and like they're kind of all right. Then you got the grandfather who. His granddaughter is like, they have a really good relationship. Interesting choice of dance. You got the father who's like very positive, completely contrast with the uncle. The uncle Frank is and the father's Richard. Sorry, their contrast. He's played by Greg Kinnear. And then you've got and by the way, just to shout out to the granddad there, Alan Arkin. Absolutely loved his performance. He had me in hysterics. He's on about that rant there. Just he's got into Dano's character. He's just like, just have sex with loads of women.
He won an Academy Award for his performance as well, didn't he?
Damn right. It's incredible. I was laughing. So much.
It's actually quite a small part of the film, really, when you look at it. He's not exactly in the film a lot, obviously, because he dies and leaves the film halfway through. But his impact is felt across the whole thing. He's just so, like, he has no sort of boundary. He is that sort of definition of being totally open and honest with people, whether it's helpful or whether it's hurtful.
Yeah, he's got no filter. Absolutely no filter. True granddad. Dano's character, the way he starts at the like really dark, and then he goes towards the end, he's quite loving, he says sorry and everything like that. it's like, I feel like the road trip is, and again going back to your kind of like Hollywood feel, the road trip itself is an evolution of like character building. It's a character arc for everyone. Obviously you've got one death to deal with it all, and it's just about like, like look at Olive, Abigail Breslin. You look at her character. She wants to go on this trip. She finds out like she has fun on stage. The family get up and like get past everything. They start dancing when they're thinking, yeah, fuck this beauty pageant. It's a pile of shit anyway. And they just start dancing. And it brings them together as a family, despite moving on. So Olive's character, yeah, she doesn't really want to be in competition anymore, but she got there. She did it. Now it's time for her next goal. It's great.
And she is absolutely incredible.
I mean, so I first saw her in, not first saw her, but she was in Zombieland. I know we've had issues before where we're dealing with like child actors, and they sometimes can be a bit like they need help with a film that not really one of the stronger suits. 100% she's one of the strong suits of this film.
Yeah,
she's absolutely class, like so charismatic and like optimistic and just everything. And again, to contrast her older brother, who does actually care for her.
Right, yeah, you're right. We've had these issues with like kid actors before because normally they don't have range. And now I could get it if they'd found a kid that could be the sort of happy, bubbly, sort of sunshine of the film, for lack of a better phrase. But here, she does that. Plus, she has like this amazing scene that makes you almost want to like burst into tears, where she's crying because her dad's like putting all this pressure on her about not being a loser. And
that's fucking solid.
She's doing it opposite of Alan Arkin, and you get this incredible moment of like seeing how her support structure manages to create somebody who is positive and happy regardless of all this pressure that her father's putting on her. That whole thing about you have to be a winner and some of the worst people in the world are losers, all that sort of stuff. So that was actually from apparently the writer Michael Arndt. He'd heard a TV appearance or something with Arnold Schwarzenegger where he'd actually said this to somebody, and he was like, "What? Why are you telling people this? That's horrific." Like, so he kind of like crafted this sort of narrative that's designed to sort of combat that idea, and obviously the kind of perfect vehicle for that being the traditional road trip film, because a road trip film is always about growth, it's about development, it's about finding who you are and all that sort of stuff. So conceptually, Little Miss Sunshine becomes about being okay with that journey and not obsessing about the end all the time,
and okay with yourself as well. I'm a big fan of it. It just that's Olive all over. That's her character all over. I mean, look at the ice cream. Breakdown of ice cream. She goes to see like Miss California. She's like, "Yeah, I love this ice cream. It's the same flavor that you like, without even like you telling me." Like, that's amazing, that scene.
I love all the little reactions that the directors sprinkle in as well. Like when Olive's kind of thinking through things like the ice cream, or like when she has the first interaction with the ice cream, and you see like the shots of her mother being horrified, or later on when the beauty queen tells her that like, yeah, I eat ice cream as well, and she's so happy, and you see the mum like, oh my god, like you don't understand how much this is helping my daughter.
One thing I want to mention is the music of this film is stunning. So Dvochka got reworked into orchestral music by a bloke called Michael Danner, who was like the composer that did all this. It really brings the film together. You mentioned before, it feels like a kind of an indie indie drama, one of those kind of things. They've always got a stunning soundtrack. They've always got this amazing kind of like really cool score, but slash like a bit of like lovely band kind of music. And it sounds such a generic term. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those feel good scores and feel good like kind of music that just brings you through. It pulls you through. It feels like you sat on top of the minivan there with like just watching a band with like just playing a guitar, something like that, and that's encapsulates this music. I love it.
It's incredible. It's a great film, and like we could go on for ages talking about how good this film is. I mean, we haven't even really touched on like how good Steve Carell is doing a straight performance like a year after doing 40-Year-Old Virgin. Like, oh my god,
I love his he's class at straight performances.
So it's incredible. I have one little gripe before we go and wrap this up.
Oh, one of these.
It's too short. This is one of those
okay,
rare,
I'm with you.
Rare films that's too short,
and it's like, 140 minutes long. It's quite long.
You don't get that very often.
Yeah.
The film at the end of it has you feeling like you want more, and I desperately wanted more of them mulling around this sort of like this journey from New Mexico to California. But
I can get that.
Love it. I think it's a great film. But anyway, there is Little Miss Sunshine. You can let us know in the comments below what you thought of Little Miss Sunshine, or you can hit us up on Twitter, as always. But Andy and I are going to be back once again next week, where we take a look at Dog Day Afternoon.
Yes.
So until then, get watching.
Bye.